Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your second Matriculate webinar. I'm really excited to be back with you in this medium and give you more advising content to be armed and prepared as you start to get paired with your students soon. For those who don't remember, my name is Marab Sarwar and work as a campus lead for Barnard Columbia, Notre Dame, and Emory. Today, we're going to really focus in on the world of full tuition scholarships. And here's the plan for today. I want you to come out of this webinar with just the confidence and understanding of full tuition scholarships and their obvious importance, the eligibility requirements for them, and the differences between different types of full tuition scholarships. So before we get into a full breakdown of the specific scholarships, I do want to connect the topic of our last webinar, College Fit, and to how important financial fit is a part of that, and really delve a little deeper into how a guarantee of free tuition really helps solve the problem that we're trying to solve for in undermatching. To test this, the University of Michigan ran an experiment with the High Achieving Involved Leader Scholarship. They targeted low-income students to apply, and for students who received the mailer and just had knowledge of the scholarship, they were more than twice as likely to apply than those that didn't. And really, this quote kind of just sums up the result in that, and it isn't that the students can apply and have the chance to afford the college, but rather if they apply and are accepted, it is guaranteed. So really encourage you guys to look at this. We're going to spend some time in your March meetings going over this article as well and looking into scholarships. But the takeaway from here is just to highlight how a full tuition scholarship can really fundamentally change a student's options and therefore be super motivated to apply to a balanced range of schools. And so again, getting ahead of this now in the stage of the process and getting your students exposed to these opportunities is how we can really start to solve or start to get to a place where we get a balanced college list and then therefore apply to a balanced list of schools. Okay, and here is our introduction to full tuition scholarship. So first things are first, let's cover a misconception. A full tuition scholarship does not mean it's a full ride, right? So as a lot of you know, as college students, tuition is only one part, a big part, but only one part of a student's estimated bill, as opposed to a full ride or full need, which will then cover full cost of attendance, which is room and board, fees, books, travel, et cetera, et cetera. So why full tuition scholarships? Why are we talking about these? Obviously, there's a huge advantage to getting and receiving them, right? Money is money. But there are also barriers too. We serve a really large population of students, and not everyone is going to be the same, and not everyone is going to be eligible to apply. But your role as an advising fellow is to check and make sure that this is the case. And second, that these scholarships that you also know are insanely competitive. And just because they're competitive, though, doesn't mean that a student can't apply. Really, if your student qualifies, that's the first step and is a big step. Your student has to take that shot, and you're here to provide an assist. That is my one sports reference for this webinar. But again, fun fact, our class of 2020 had 71 students who were matched through Questbridge, and that's a huge sign and a huge deal for those students who were. We'll talk more about Questbridge and just all the great opportunities that are in there, but it is just a life-changing scholarship to receive. And again, any of these scholarships are going to be fundamentally really great for your student and a way to bridge that financial fit and gap. Okay, and this is really the core four of just full tuition scholarships. We have the Gates Scholarship, there is the Jack Kent Cooke Scholarship Program, the Posse Foundation, and the Questbridge National Match. We're gonna take this webinar to go individually on each one, but note the deadlines and just kind of like the cycle that's happening here. So Gates and Questbridge are both in September, Jack and Cooke in November, and the Posse Foundation, students will have to be nominated before their actual senior year. Okay, the first up is the Gates Scholarship, one of the most competitive scholarships in the country, and is only awarded to 300 minority students each year. It covers the full cost of attendance that is not already covered by other forms of financial aid, or the expected family contribution. So the GATE scholarship pretty much just covers the full need of a leftover of a student's remaining cost and bill. Eligibility requirements for this, you'll notice for all these, the clear eligibility is to be a high school senior, and that they must be a minority of the following ethnicities. So whether that's African American, American Indian, Alaska Native, Asian, Pacific Islander, and or Hispanic American. Again, this scholarship is only for minority students. They also have to be Pell eligible for FAFSA. So what that means is that by filling out the FAFSA, that determines whether or not a student is eligible to receive a Pell Grant. It's a very minimum threshold for a lot of the students that we work for. But if they receive a Pell Grant, a student is then qualified to apply for GATES. And then the last two things, a student does have to be a US citizen or a permanent resident, and they must have a GPA of at least a 3.3 or higher on a 4.0 scale. Again, just basic eligibility requirements, but with a few notable factors. Next up, we have the Posse Foundation. So Posse is a little interesting and unique. They identify students to receive full tuition scholarships. So again, just full tuition, that's guaranteed for all 4 years. They select students in groups of 10 or a posse from their home city. So this is just to prepare for college together before they actually arrive on campus. So they have a group of folks to connect with and network with before they get there. For students to be in Posse, they have to be nominated by either a teacher, a school administrator, or a college access program. Matriculate, unfortunately, cannot nominate students. However, as opposed to GATES, Posse is open to all students, regardless of background or income. So who are the partner schools and who does Posse serve? So this also differs in every city Posse is in. Currently, they serve students in New York, Washington, D.C., Boston, Chicago, Atlanta, Miami, New Orleans, Houston, Los Angeles, and the Bay Area. Each partner city has a different list of partner schools, however. So the list that DC has is going to be a list in the different is different than the list that New Orleans has, due to like just different partnerships and different relationships between the schools and those partner cities and where they're trying to recruit from. So this can very much range, and also is like located in primarily majority big cities. So again, just something if you know your student, just to be aware of if your student is talking to you about Posse and knows about it, just so for you to be more aware of what this is and what that list is. For students who do not qualify, obviously, like this isn't concerning you, but again, good to be aware of. Next up, we have Jack Kent Cooke. This is a 4-year scholarship that can award up to $40,000 to high achieving low income high school seniors. So again, all 4 years. The timeline is also pretty similar to just college applications, of the application opening up in September and the winners being announced in April. Quick eligibility requirements. This includes obviously senior standing and college enrollment in 2021. An unweighted GPA of 3.5 and test scores that are a minimum of either a 1200 on the SAT or at least a 26 composite score on the ACT. And lastly, income that shows a demonstrated unmet financial need. They consider up to the maximum of $95,000, so students can still apply with traditionally higher incomes, but the average scholarship recipient has a median family income of $26,000. So again, that isn't to say if your student has a $50,000 income that they don't apply to Jack Kent Cooke. It's just to provide you some context and understanding of who can apply, and just to understand like what they might be up against, or just like again just look at the big picture. But that doesn't mean don't apply if your student is making more than 26. Okay. Next up, we get Questbridge, and this is actually their last scholarship that we're going to kind of do a deeper dive in. Questbridge National Match offers a full need match scholarship to high achieving low income students. So for students who reach up to the finalist stage, they can then rank up to 12 schools for the college match scholarship. More eligibility. It's only open to US citizens, so or and permanent residents. And also regardless of citizenship, currently attending high school in the United States. So finalists typically come from households earning less than $65,000 annually for a family of 4, and often less. There isn't a strict cutoff, but know that this is a big indicator for Questbridge as an initial check. Okay, and let's just do a little bit of a deeper dive on Questbridge or QB. So the National College Match application is due in September, and this is just to be ranked as a finalist. So for those selected as a finalist, they are then eligible to apply to actual schools through the Questbridge application, and this gets them eligible to receive the actual scholarship from there. Or if they do not choose to match or do not match with the school, can then opt to apply through Questbridge for early decision. We can go more on that in the future. But again, it's almost as if you're using, Questbridge is literally another college application process. So so kind of like similar to the Common App or the Volition App, Questbridge is just another application portal. So it really just doubled as an HSF's college application to Questbridge partner schools. For really those who are selected as a finalist, students from here can then rank up to 12 schools, where each school can then choose to admit them from there. So all schools for Questbridge count as early decision and are binding. So again, if you rank up to these 12 schools, pretty much it's a ranking system. So Questbridge will literally give your application to a school. Depending on if you rank 5 or 6, they will then go, if you get rejected by the first 5, but then accepted by the 6th school, you have then committed to that 6th school. So it's a application process that you want to be super intentional about and just completely understand. So if you do rank 6 schools, that you are more than okay going to the 6th. However, there are 4 schools that are non-binding. So that is MIT, Yale, and Princeton and Stanford. So other than those 4 schools, you are basically applying early decision as you do Questbridge. So if you do not match with a student after this process, Questbridge does have a regular decision process, which kind of like, again, puts you in the regular decision pipeline, but also gives you the standard and the notoriety of just being a Questbridge scholar. Some key moments for advising fellows in this process. It's really, Questbridge is super confusing, and for you to kind of be able to talk about the 2-step process, right? One to be a finalist, and then one to then match schools and kind of know the commitment of what matching looks like. Being able to be that support system there is very key. But again, it's an early application, so kind of working on this from the get-go, from the start, really helps you and your student craft a narrative and then kind of develop like a really great application strategy. Even if your student doesn't get matched to Questbridge or matched to a school, kind of going through this process of Questbridge really sets your student up for success, even in the regular decision pipeline or for applying a school's early decision outside of the Questbridge process. So really, you're there as another resource to kind of like make sense of the application process. You also, again, want to talk through college fit as HSF's research Questbridge partner schools. Those schools are very different from each other. They are all HGR and all offer great resources, but that means that those schools are very different from like culture and vibe and like things that you want a student to be looking into. So this is really like your first real step into kind of like, okay, we're looking at the upper echelon schools in America. How are these schools different from each other? What are you really looking for? Because hey, you want to go back to that earlier piece of, okay, all these schools are going to be financially accessible if you apply through Questbridge. And so therefore, if all these schools are accessible, what is your real dream school here? So again, keep looking ahead in that process and just plan ahead. It's another college application, and you're really here to bring Posse to the process. And again, it's a super competitive application. So there's absolutely no shame to not get ranked as a finalist or to not get matched to a school. But developing this muscle and developing this like flex of being able to work through this application is really key and important to doing well and being ahead. Okay, really just a short and sweet webinar for you guys today. But this is actually with this second webinar, we're also debuting the AF check-in. And so that is going to include your very first survey. And so that is a monthly requirement to then complete by next week. We are going to start pairing this month, which is very, very exciting. And I know you guys are chomping at the bit to get at this. But really, once that moment happens, you're immediately reaching out, as we kind of went ad nauseum for over training. You're texting the phrase first meeting to 646-679-5841. No space. It has to be the exact phrase for first meeting for the text flow to go through. And you're scheduling your meeting within 1 week, and you're completing your first meeting within 14 days. And most importantly, you're submitting a session summary to tell us how great it went. And that is really first meeting tracking. I'm very excited to kind of like get you guys there and get you started, and then to kind of like see your relationships grow from the start. And this time next year, we're going to be talking about enrollment. So really, really, really excited to get you started about this process and get you paired with some students. And you already have some things to talk about beyond those first few things. So we have college fit, we have full tuition scholarships, really kind of like the bread and butter of college access. So with all that said, really excited to get to work. Very excited to keep doing these webinars for you. We'll be back next month to talk about the personal statement and crafting a narrative and essay building. Okay, great. See you next time, y'all.